does it make sense for a gamer to buy a 3090? Let's talk YouTube stuff for just a second. I'm just starting this channel out. It's brand new, and it'll help me out a lot if you hit the like button. That'll help me become more visible on YouTube search algorithm. Also, subscribe if you're interested in PCs and technology-related content. Thanks. So let's say that you could get one. Let's say that you can find the stock available. You're sitting there, you're clicking your refresh button, you're following all the stock availability discords and alert systems and all of that. Let's say you find one. Should a gamer buy a 3090? And when I looked at a lot of the 3090 reviews, most of the big reviewers were saying things like, the 3090 should not be marketed to gamers. It should be marketed as a card for getting work done that you can also game on. And that's definitely true from a certain point of view. But my question today is, okay, so if I'm a gamer and I want to buy a 3090, should these guys be making me somehow feel bad about my decision to buy a 3090? Now, I want to be right up front here right now. There's no way I'm buying a 3090 personally, because I'm not going to be somebody that it makes sense for, but you might be. So who should buy a 3090 for gaming? There's a few things you need to think about here. One is definitely that you're not getting great value per dollar in the current lineup of GPUs. And I think we all know that. The way it's priced compared to the 3080 for only a small jump in performance, small but not unnoticeable, right? There is a jump in performance, but you're, almost doubling the cost. So is that worth it to you, right? So are you the kind of person where that makes sense? There's a few different things here. You might be somebody with just a lot of disposable income. Your thing is computers, and you want to have the best stuff. If you want to have the best card for gaming, buy yourself a 3090. And I don't think you even need to wait to see what AMD is bringing to the table. Should you wait to buy a 3090 if you're the kind of person who just has money to throw away on the best, and you see a 3090 available? Why don't you just grab that, right? It's extremely unlikely that AMD is going to bring something that can beat a 3090. The only thing that might happen is if they somehow can beat a 3080 or compete with it, we could see pricing readjusted. But generally, the top-end card is an NVIDIA card. I doubt that we're going to see that change this generation, although I think AMD is starting to catch them. But the top-end card is going to have a premium on it. You're going to pay a lot more. There's going to be diminishing returns. And some people have the money, so it doesn't really affect them. What's an extra $700 on a graphics card or whatever? If you're somebody who has that kind of money and this is what you're into, don't feel bad about spending money on the thing that you are into, you're getting all this enjoyment out of, and you want to have the best. It's not that crazy to do that, but there are people in a different situation. We also have people who don't have a lot of throwaway income, but they have been saving up for a long time, and they also want to have the best. I know over 10 years ago, back when I was in high school, I worked at a Dairy Queen for a little while, and one of the guys that worked there was really into PC gaming, and we weren't making tons of money there at Dairy Queen, right? That was minimum wage, but he was willing to save up all of his money. He didn't buy other stuff he didn't need. He's not going out and getting coffee in the morning. He's budgeting, he's saving, he's scrimping on everything because PC gaming was his life. When he wasn't working, he was at home on his computer. That was his thing. And so even though from a financial analysis perspective, it would make zero sense for him to be spending the percentage of his income on PC gaming that he was, that was who he was as a person. That was his identity. And he was willing to make these sacrifices to do that. And he was happy with those decisions. But not everybody should make that choice. Do I think that you should risk not being able to pay rent just to get a 3090 instead of a 3080? Don't make an irresponsible decision. You need to make sure that you have actually budgeted for this. But some people don't have to have the kind of income that you would expect to be able to justify the purchase of the 3090. If you are intentionally saving specifically to buy the highest end thing and you have budgeted in a manner to allow for that, I don't think you need to feel that bad about doing that if that's going to mean a lot to you. But we should also talk about the issue of buyer's remorse. So people who recently bought a 2080 Ti if you recently bought a 2080 Ti, you were probably hit with a large case of buyer's remorse when the 3080 pricing and performance was revealed, right? You can pay like half the price and get not double, but quite a bit higher performance compared to the 2080 Ti for a lot lower cost, right? So then you have that issue of buyer's remorse. And this is something I want to think about here a little bit, because some of you guys are older than me or my age, and remember what the computer hardware market used to be like. And some of you are younger than me and might not remember this, or maybe just recently got into the PC gaming stuff. It used to be that every year or two, CPU and GPU performance would have these massive jumps. This jump that we're seeing from the 20 series to the 30 series is a big jump, and it's way more than we're used to seeing over the last several hardware generations. But performance jumps like this didn't used to be as uncommon. We used to see larger jumps, and you'd have this thing where you would buy the top of the line PC, and within a year or two, it was, junk's the wrong word, but compared to the current high end, just a couple of years later, your PC was completely outdated. And you just had to accept that if you were going to buy at the high end, there's going to be much better stuff out very soon. And you just have to be willing to eat that loss as far as the value, it holding its value. And you might need to be somebody, if you always want to stay at the high end, where you're just going to you're going to shell out that cash every single time, every couple of years. Now, I actually think that we might, and this is a big might, we might be returning to that style of development. I think that AMD has been starting to do that on the CPU side. Intel had really slowed down. Again, there was a time where every couple of years CPU performance was skyrocketing. But then Intel has just slowed down, and each generation was only a noticeable but fairly minor performance gain. But ever since the Ryzen series of processors, AMD has started to make big jumps every time and make these jumps pretty quickly. And that was something that they intentionally planned for. They designed an architecture that was going to be able to do that. I believe I've seen that AMD said that their current lineup of graphics cards is designed with that same philosophy, so that they have clear performance gains they can make with each generation. So maybe they haven't caught NVIDIA this time, but they feel confident they can continually produce a large gain using this type of architecture. So I'm just saying that I don't know if we're going to return to that, like, every couple of years we have this massive performance gain situation that we used to be in. But it is a real possibility. And like I said, the people who just purchased the 2080 Ti recently are seeing that. Because I think we got in a situation for the last several years, well, not even several years, longer than that, where you could buy a pretty high-end PC and expect it to remain fairly competitive at a fairly high end for a decent number of years, where it wasn't like every year you were just completely outdated. And again, that didn't used to be how it was. And we could be seeing some signs that things are maybe turning back towards that. So where does that leave you with buying the 3090? For the 3090 to make sense for you as a gamer, you have to, number one, financially be able to handle that, either because you have a high income and it's just really not that big of a deal to you, or because you have really thought through all of this, the entire situation. You have budgeted for this responsibly. You're not cutting corners on paying your rent or any other important financial obligations, but you're cutting out maybe other luxury items that you don't really need because PC gaming's your thing and you want the best. Just be aware that we could be returning to this kind of massive performance jump. And there could be another line of 30 series cards, just like they did with the 20 series cards. 20 series cards, right after we got the originals, we got some super variants that were then more powerful. And we're seeing already some rumors that that's probably going to be the case with the 30 series. We're going to get either supers or TIs or both, and it's also looking like some of these are going to release with more VRAM. And if the 3080 gets a variant that has more VRAM, again, it's going to be really pushing on that 3090 territory. This could make sense for you, and I don't think you need to feel bad or feel like you're dumb if you're buying a 3090, which I feel like some of the 3090 reviews kind of made it out to be. Like, it's not great value to buy a 3090 for the performance, but that doesn't mean it's a bad decision or a wrong decision. If you can afford it and you're the kind of person who just wants the best, this is your hobby, you want to feel good about it, you want to have that, go for it. Do you really need a 3090? Probably not, but that doesn't mean that this isn't your hobby that you enjoy and you can spend your money on however you like. Will I be buying a 3090? Absolutely not. I'm deciding between either a 3070 or a 3080, or possibly whatever AMD has in store with Big Navi. If they drop something kind of between the 3070, 3080 performance levels at a better price, that's going to be a really compelling option. I think that if you want to buy yourself 3090, you can afford it, you go for it. You do you. Just as long as you're going to be okay with the possible buyer's remorse when the better cards come out, and maybe you don't have the best anymore, or you could have got this for a much lower price later. That's always an issue with PC stuff. You can always wait for the next best thing. You'll always be able to get more performance per dollar if you wait a year, right? That's always the case. But at some point, you just need to buy what you want. And if what you want is the best, and you want it to buy something now, the 3090 is the best. And if you can afford it, don't feel bad about making that choice. Last thing, though, is double check it's actually going to fit in your case and that your power supply can handle it, because that is a big boy, right? It is that is a beast of a card, both size and power draw wise. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys have an excellent day. And if you think I missed something, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're going to be buying one.